Transactions yesterday, starting with Mason Williams. Well, what type of development have you seen out of him?
You know, for a young man, there was a lot expected because he was a high draft choice, and he has really come quickly this year. Was outstanding in AA, played all over the place, center, left, and right. He's probably as good as center fielders in our organization. I mean, he's a Ellsbury Girardi type of center fielder, and he played very well in AAA as well. So he got the call, and I know he's very excited.
What about Chris Martin? How do you see him filling the gaps here for you now with the bullpen?
He will help us, you know, probably in the later innings. You know, if we feel it's a right-hander, a matchup for a right-hander. You know, as we've said all along, our lefties get lefties and righties out, and we will use that. But at some point, you know, he'll be in the back end like he was before.
You said moving Betances to that closer role. How do you see him filling the shoes that Miller and what he had provided there?
Well, I don't think he really needs to do anything different than what he was doing the last 2 years. I mean, he's been really successful pitching the way he pitches. So he's a guy that we'll use in the ninth, and we'll just kind of move everyone back. We'll move Willie back. We'll move Shreve back, and add Martin to that mix, and use the other guys, you know, to get to those guys.
Joe, what was the breakdown of Ellsbury's day today? I know he's...
He ran, he threw, he's hit. I mean, he's starting to do a little bit of everything now. You know, to put a percent on what he's running, it's kind of hard. Maybe it was 60% today, and he'll continue to increase. The good thing is he felt good again today. You know, our plans are to leave him in Florida after we go to Miami, and he'll go to, you know, to Tampa, and hopefully, you know, shortly after being in Tampa and working out some days, he'll be in some rehab games.
Was there anything that you saw from Williams in spring training that, you know, that stood out to you?
I just thought he had matured a lot as a player. I thought his at-bats were good. I thought he had some good at-bats against left-handers. That probably stood out to me as much as anything. And I think you watch him play center field, he does it pretty easily. I mean, he made some really good plays. I remember him doubling up a guy where he came in on a catch and then made an outstanding throw. So there's a lot of tools there.
You could have brought Flores back with the injury.
We could have. He's playing extremely well in AAA. Flo had played well. Slade had played well. Thinking about moving forward, 20 days in a row. You know, with Mason being a pure center fielder, a true center fielder, at some point you're going to have to give Girardi a day or two off in here. And we could have put Chris out there as well, but we just liked the way Mason was playing, and it was the move we decided to make.
He played the corners
in Double-A.
Did you think about him playing here anywhere but center field?
Well, I think it's probably most important that he's as comfortable as we can make him as a young player, and let's put him in his natural position. And I talked to Girardi about it, and Girardi's like, fine, and Girardi will move back to left. And it might tax Girardi a little bit less, you know, being in left than it is in center all the days.
Do you see any benefit of now having seen Slade, Flores, and Mason here in this little stretch?
I think you're starting to see, you know, our young players make an impact, and I think that's important because we know moving forward we're going to need all of them. You'd like to say that everyone's going to stay healthy, but the more guys that have experience and have been up here and know that they could do it, I think it's better for your organization.
Joe, one of probably the biggest strength of your bullpen so far was having Dellin set up for Andrew. Now that Dellin's closing, who's going to set up for Dellin?
Well, I just said we'd move everyone back. Willie, you know, I'll use Willie. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So he will be your eighth inning guy?
Yeah, I mean, that's my plan.
Okay.
Joe, are you any more tempted to use Dellin for more than 3 outs?
Well, I think you can, not on a regular basis, but I think you can, depending on the amount of days off and how much he's pitched. And you know, obviously that's something that you have to watch, and you can't overuse him now that, you know, Miller's gone. But I mean, I'm sure there's certain days that you could do it.
Joe, in addition to just how good Miller was, do you think you lose any sort of mental edge just with opponents knowing if they're not up through 7 and add those two guys?
You know, I don't ever think about that. I mean, the other guys, you know, Wilson's been throwing the ball well, Shreve's been throwing the ball well. You know, I mean, if those guys go out and perform like we think they're capable of, I mean, you can't replace Miller. Things will take care of itself.
Last time Pineda faced these guys, he had 16 strikeouts. Is there any carryover with that, given the amount of time in between?
You know, I think you're concerned tonight with a long layoff a little bit is his command. He was throwing the ball extremely well, and you know it's difficult when you're in a situation like that to make a decision. You know at some point you're going to have to do it, and it just worked out with all the off days. It was probably the easiest time to do it, where you didn't ask anyone to come back early. You weren't overtaxing the other guys. Hopefully he comes out, feels good, and is locked in, and goes right back to work.
So at what point will you be looking for a sixth starter?
Well, we know that we're going to have to do it once or twice in the next rotation. I mean, we're just going to have to do it. So I think you see how they go through this round and how taxed they are, and then you decide where you put that sixth starter in.
Is it how much of it has to do with how Nova does tomorrow night?
I'm not going to base it on that. I think you have to base it on the guys here.
So the other day you said you might tweak the starting rotation this weekend, but it doesn't appear you did.
Yeah, I did.
Like, did you
CC's in front of Warren.
It's 2 for 2 for me today. Okay.
It's hot, Wally.
I don't think that's it.
You just didn't want CC to have the extra too many days off.
Well, the other thing is, you know, we're getting in an area where Warren hasn't been at this level either. The amount of innings he's getting to. So we thought if we could get him the extra rest, it would be good.
So because of that and because of what you might have as a need, is it natural to see Warren at some point filling a role in your bullpen?
That's something we're going to have to talk about. We have not made any decisions. We haven't talked about, because so much can happen in the amount of time that, you know, you feel that Ivan Nova is ready. So to me, it's wasted thought. And there's just so many things that are going to happen. So, but it's something we're going to have to address.
Do you look at Wilson? You like him against both lefties and righties?
Yeah, I don't worry about that.
Do you look at, he's going to get his first shot of being the evening. Do you look at this opportunity for other guys to step up and assert themselves as guys who could be in that mix as well? Yes,
and we need other guys to step up and assert themselves. It's important. You know, you're playing games in your division, and you know that's the day that you know that you can put more space between you and another team. But we need guys to step up a little bit.
You put Pinger in the big spot the other day. Didn't get it done. Do you think there's something you can take from that for a learning experience?
Yeah, I mean, to me, he made a mistake with one pitch. I mean, the swings off him before that pitch weren't great, and he made a mistake. And it's the importance of, you know, you walk a fine line when you get to this level, and it's tough when you make mistakes. So you have to be really, and I'm not saying he wasn't focused, but you understand that it's a little bit different up here.
Do you anticipate using Alex in the field?
Probably not, no. That doesn't mean if I needed a double switch or something, I wouldn't do that.
Just not starting.
Right.
So Joe, 6-man rotation means because of training games, but you really think you want to give him Masahiro next?
No, I think about all of our starters. You know, I've said that. I mean, I know there's a big focus on Masahiro, but I mean, look, we've skipped Pineda. I've moved Adam back. I mean, there's other guys that you need to address, and I mean, the only guy that threw 200 innings last year was Evaldi. I mean, that's it. And besides that, these guys haven't thrown a lot of innings, so it's something that you have to be conscious of. It's pretty good arm strength there, holding it up for that. It's got to be part of it.
The A's just put Venditti on the DL.
I saw that for right shoulder. Why can't pitch left hand?
Exactly. Yeah.
I saw that. That was my first thought. So I guess you could be down on one side and live on the other. No. But no, what I'm saying, like, we won't use him right-handed, but you could use him left.
Sure. Why not?
You'd have to have 2 lines for him on the card.